My conscience hath 1,000 civil tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. It is that thing we do not talk about, that in the deepest corner and the recesses of our mind and our soul and our being comes forth within our own passion to tell story. For there is no good without evil. It's the darkness that is the most fascinating aspect of what we do. It has the most depth. It has the most reach. It incorporates the most forethought. So here, this season on 21 Grams, we examine the part of the soul that we often try to bury or not talk about. They say that 21 grams is the weight of the soul. But what is the weight of sitting in darkness? This is what we aim to discover this season. Welcome to 21 Grams with your host, Joe Compton.
Hello, everybody. Yes, it's another episode of 21 Grams, and I'm here with a veteran of the show for sure.
Yep.
My friend SG Tasz is here, everybody. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself just in case they're seeing you for the first time, which is crazy, but, you know, it happens.
That would be wild, yeah. So, like Joe said, my pen name's SG Tasz. My real name is Sarah. I respond to either one. I write urban fantasy and paranormal comedy, and just contemporary fantasy in general. And I am based in Las Vegas, so that's a lot of my stories incorporate Vegas and Vegas-y things. And you can find me on sgtash.com. That's where I am. Most of my stuff is there. All my stuff is there.
Awesome. And Anita's here. Say hello, Anita. Nice to see you.
Hi, Anita.
There's some other people in here. So say hello, everybody, when you get a chance. But yeah, you know, I was real excited to have you on this season because we are talking about darkness, and it's kind of funny. We were talking about a book that you are about to publish now, and it's coming out this year.
Yes,
but you know, I wanted to have you for this particular topic because you write in an environment that is kind of rooted in darkness in a lot of respects, you know, in Las Vegas, and you utilize it quite a bit in how it becomes a character and how it, you know, the shadows and the aspects of Vegas that are a little more of the seedy nature. And I'm really curious, you know, about, you know, you have protagonists, you have antagonists, but then you have the setting and it comes to life for you. And you consider it probably a character, I would assume, in that aspect.
Absolutely. I mean, my favorite books and movies and stories, the setting is always the character. I will even, like, I'll watch movies that are really bad simply because I like the setting, and I'll just kind of live through the story. I'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for me, and especially it's true in all the books I've written, but for the stories like Misadventure that are set in Vegas, and Mr. Lucky as well, it was really important to me to be true to what Vegas is and what it also isn't, and what it looks like, and what the experience of living here is, and kind of all the issues that go along with that.
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing, you know, is I think that a lot of it gets played up, right? And and tourists tend to stay in one specific spot of Las Vegas when Las Vegas is vaster than that and bigger. And I mean, the suburbs of Vegas that, you know, people would see on any street corner in any city, you know, and it's kind of, I like when someone who has that perspective shares that perspective, because I think it's important to kind of give a lay of the land that, hey, Las Vegas is just like everybody else. We just got a big street with fucking casinos and big lights and shit on it, you know?
Yeah, we have a bit of a weird main street, a couple weird main streets in this town. But yeah, other than that, it's a lot like any other city. Although I will say, and I've always kind of known this about Vegas, but moving here really has shown it to me, is Vegas is kind of like, if you've ever been to like Cancun or one of the Caribbean cities, it's kind of like that, where there's like a lot of money funneled into the tourist corridor. And then, I mean, there's plenty of money like in Summerlin and in certain affluent areas, but there's also very much areas that are downtrodden, and it seems really weird that they would be in sort of that state for a city that seems to have so much affluence and glamour coming through it. So in a way, it's kind of like one of those. We're a little bit like any other resort town or destination town anywhere in the world, where the money goes to kind of one place and doesn't necessarily make it into the rest of the civic life.
I would also say that it's probably fair to say it's like any metropolitan area too, where like you have the big city and it funnels out, and then there's just neglected aspects of it, right? And that's
yeah. I think it's just so much more like starkly juxtaposed here because the downtown is so over the top.
Yeah, and so well known and so famous.
Right, exactly. And it's just, literally like gold buildings around there, and you don't see that a whole lot of, I mean, you don't not see it other places, but you don't see it in a whole lot of other places like that. So when you think about, like I talk about this in book 4, Death in the Shadows, you talk about these massive resorts with all of this money exchanging hands and running through, and then a mile away, not even, you have people living in the tunnels, the flood tunnels under the city, in these big warren networks and neighborhoods. And that's not even the only place where we have that sort of poverty level here. So that's definitely something that like I don't shy away from. It's weird because you do have like the super high rollers, you have that level of need, and then you also just have like me, where it's just like you're living a normal life as well.
You also have landscapes and a vast desert that is still uncovered, or that is still not covered by anything out there in darkness. That's tantamount for an author doing horror or doing urban fantasy, I would imagine. Shit is buried out there. There is no doubt about it, right?
Yeah, so. I mean, there is. I haven't gotten so far into that area of Nevada yet. There are definitely dead bodies that we're never gonna find out there, probably. But yeah, Nevada is such an interesting place because, like, on the one hand, there is just so much nothing, just everywhere, and then you've got, like, I've done the drive between Vegas and Reno one time, but right before COVID, we drove up to Virginia City, which is really, that's what the Dead Mall town is based on, and the drive, like coming back, we were coming back sort of into the evening, and even 5 miles outside of Las Vegas, it is a non-divided highway, so you've got cars coming at you. Trucks, like, because this road, it's a non-divided highway between Reno and Las Vegas. It's the only road in the state to get there. And you got like oncoming traffic coming at you and trucks, and there's no streetlights. Yeah. Like no lights over the highway. So if you're driving at night and like, it's possible that there's just a car with its lights off could be coming right at you and you wouldn't know it. It's so desolate. Like, I think it's hard for a lot of us to picture that. Like, I grew up in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I thought that was desolate. It's nothing like Nevada, Southwest desert. That is another world altogether.
As someone who's made the drive from LA to Las Vegas a couple hundred times, it's darkness. When you're in there at night, it is absolutely the most harrowing thing, because it's not just the darkness, but there is wind that curls up in there and keeps you from being on the road. Its goal is to knock you off the road. I mean, it literally gets encompassed between the two mountain ranges and just swirls in that off of that freeway.
Yep. Yeah,
so
it's it's intense. Like you have to be extremely aware of what you're doing in the most empty place and boring place on the planet. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought up the other aspect of what I know you for, which is being a Midwestern person and the vastness of snow and its darkness as well
Yeah,
is something that
different.
is very, very, you know, it can be very harrowing, you know.
Yeah, it's a complete like it's just really wild. I don't know how I ended up living in like the extremes of our country. But like it is so like living in the Midwest is a totally different challenge.
Yeah.
And it's one that I, for even being born there and living most of my life there up until a certain age, up until 30, whatever, um, I was not equipped to deal with it because that darkness is so, it just gets into your bones in the
Yeah.
winter. And like, it's so, it just weighs you down and it's so hard to move through. Here, you know, it's definitely, it's lighter, like it's dark, but you can move in it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the try. And you know, I do say, since we're talking about darkness, like I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of this country's serial killers came from Wisconsin and Illinois. Like, there's something in that, you know, having lived through it.
Mindset. Yeah.
I mean, if your chemistry is wrong, that weather is gonna mess with you for sure.
Well,
In
not
real,
only that, but I think with the idea that the Midwest has a mentality to it of the people have a mentality to it, right? And they raise their kids in a certain way out there, and that's usually pretty. It's not very broad. It's very insular in the way that they do that, and
yeah.
so those kids get that upbringing, and that helps bring out the torment in a person.
Yeah, that's another sort of double-edged sword is like if you're on the right side of that insulation, it's
Mhm.
wonderful because
Mhm.
you have this close-knit family and you feel very much like you belong and you're in this like, you know, warm hearth of home and it's very nice. But if you don't fit into it, it's torture. And
Yeah.
I have been sort of able to I've existed in different times in my life in different places of that. Um, so yeah, like when you're in it, it's great, and when you're not in it, it's the worst.
How much of what you write is affected by the setting? Do you feel like you're personally affected in your writing process by like imagining a dark desert or being in 4 feet of snow?
It's been a long time since I've written in 4 feet of snow, so
Mhm.
that I can't totally remember. I know I've done my best work here. Now that's also my most recent work, so I
Sure,
know more about like my craft, and I've just learned and
sure.
become a better author. So that's hard to really say. I do think environment like has a lot to do with how you perform, though. I think that depending on where you are, you can you can definitely suffer because you're not in the right environment.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how much, and yeah, I think it can help you too.
Mhm.
But there's more than just like being in the right place. You have to be in the right frame of mind. It has to be sort of like for me, for example, this new book that I'm writing, Snakes and Stones, that's going to be coming out this year. Um, I should have been done with it months ago. And the reason I wasn't is because and I know this about myself and I thought I, could work through it and I was wrong, is once daylight savings hits, my productivity, even here in Nevada, where it's like a very strong sort of creative space for me, it gets cut by half, basically. Once those longer nights come into play, like I'm not nearly as productive as I otherwise am. And now that we're coming out of it, I feel myself kind of opening up and being more productive again. So that's also why the Midwest was tough for me, is because I do have that kind of hibernation hibernation inclination, not to be too rhymy, but like I just want to do nothing during the winter at all. And that in some ways has gotten worse since I've been here, just because it is so samey that like the only thing that changes is my reaction to the time of year. So it's like nothing else has changed, but I'm definitely changed. And it kind of is like a weird feedback loop. So that's interesting, something to deal with.
How much does the heat factor for you?
Heat's fine, actually. I don't mind the heat as much as I mind the cold winter and the dark in the Midwest. I can suffer the heat much better. I think I must have some sort of like latent claustrophobia or something, because I have a weird thing about not being able to move. And like the cold didn't really bother me in the Midwest. It was the snow. It was not being able to go places. Here, even when it gets cold and it's dark, at least I can get in my car and drive without having to worry about obstacles in my way. So there's this like mobility thing that is important to me, I guess.
Or exercising to move the obstacles out of your way, like, you know, plowing the driveways and stuff like that, right? So.
Yep. Never liked shoveling. My dad didn't get a snowplow until I was well out of college, like a snowblower. Like he did it himself, or he would make us do it. Me and my sister, we were shoveling our driveway our entire childhoods, all the way through high school. Like
that's that Midwest thing, right?
It's a Midwest thing. Yep. Midwest German, like absolutely. It was all about, you know, manual labor and self-sufficiency, which is like, that's helped me a lot in independent publication, like being self-sufficient and all of that. But it's still a pain in the ass.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, when we used to go on big hikes for the Marines, you know, you're going, well, how is this going to matter to us? And then you find out why, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense now. You know?
Although I don't think shoveling snow has had a real like practical effect on my life.
Well, I mean, it might have taught you a little discipline, I think, or a little responsibility. I don't know.
It's taught me I hate snow.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah.
I mean, so you have also the Dead Mall series, which, you know, is an interesting setting, and you utilize darkness quite a bit in that setting because it's basically apocalyptic, you know, at this point. So
yeah, it's very a little microcosm of an apocalypse. Yeah. In the town that they live in, and specifically the mall that they work in.
So is there animatronic animal? I haven't read all of the books, but is there animatronic animals that make their way from like a dead Chuck E. Cheese and shit like that?
No, I never got far enough for that. And Five Nights at Freddy's was like, it was either right. It was like right around the time that Dead Mall came out. There's a little bit that happens with mannequins in the first book.
I have read that, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that. It's been a while since I've read through Dead Mall. Yeah, no, there's not really anything like that. It's more playing with the space. Again, it's the location of like the big empty mall.
Well, and there's something within that space that is much more evil than the spaces itself, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I'm curious too, because you kind of gravitate toward, I wouldn't say anti-hero. I think that's wrong. I think your characters are varying shades of gray in a lot of respects, especially your protagonist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you feel about black and white versus shades of gray? Do you think kind of like how we always say, you know, everybody's a little bit of a pantser, everybody's a little bit of a plotter, right? You think that everybody's a little evil, everybody's a little good? Is that how you kind of approach it?
So I think, and this has come through even more so in the book I'm writing now, I think it's actually that nobody, I mean, we all know this, nobody ever thinks they're evil. Yeah. Unless you're writing like a super, you know, kind of caricature on purpose, you know, kind of like a Boris and Natasha were so evil, or Robotnik sort of
Right.
evil character, which is fun.
Or making fun of it like a Dr. Evil, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
something like that, which is, I mean, Austin Powers is one of my favorite movies. It's also set in Las Vegas. There's a pattern here. But so it's not so much about like everyone is a little bit evil. It's everyone can justify anything. It takes a lot for someone to like look at their behavior and be like, oh shit, that was kind of messed up, and you know, I shouldn't have done that. But nobody actually thinks they're doing evil. I think everyone believes that what they're doing is completely right and good, and it's just up to the reader and the characters around them to decide like that it's evil. So evil is very much like an outward judgment that goes, you know, that's the world judging you. They never think that they're evil.
But you know, in Misadventure, there is questions of morality in it. There is moments when morality comes to play, and that's kind of
Yes.
an interesting thing to present to a gray character, right? And
Yeah.
does that then entice you to be more white and black than gray in that aspect, or do you think that just enhances more dark gray? I don't know.
I think it's more gray. Yeah. I mean, for Adina, her whole thing is she decides. Like anyone can ask her to murder anybody, but
Right.
she's the one that makes the final choice. And to her, that is very black and white. She makes the call whether they live or die, and that's the end of it. It's now for us, she's on the outside judging her. She's very morally gray because she's making that call, and should she be making that call, and is she right, and what criteria, and all of this. But in her mind, it's very clear.
Interesting. With the new book, are you still kind of exploring dark gray a little bit? Are you kind of, or I mean, I'm trying to see if there's a line for you, Sarah. Is there a line for you anywhere? Do you keep moving the goalposts?
As far as what?
Just like as far as good and evil is concerned. Yeah, you know, can you define good and evil within what you write more so than maybe somebody who would read it?
Well, definitely the new book plays with good and evil, because the whole idea is that the main character is Medusa, who's living in kind of current day, and she gets pulled into a quest by one of the fates to go kill the gods before they can consolidate all of their power and basically enslave humanity. Now, she does pretty awful things, but she does them because she has to survive. She is an undying, which means, you know, she's immortal. She can't die, right, as much as she might want to. She's been on this earth for 500 years. She has to deal with money. She has to deal with the fact that she's got snakes for a head and kills people by looking at them, and her life is difficult. So she has to do some kind of distasteful things in order to survive, in order to have any sort of life that isn't endlessly miserable. So extremely gray. The gods, they are trying to enslave humanity, but they're doing it because they almost died out once before, and they're trying to save themselves. So it's I think when you get down to questions of survival, you can justify almost anything. Whether or not that makes you evil, I think it's more about not what your goal is, it's more about how you get there. So an act can be evil. I don't know if that makes a person evil.
I don't know. There's some pretty vicious acts out there that have created evil characters. You know, I mean,
True.
Yeah, and but then that becomes the redemption arc aspect of it too, right? If you bring somebody totally down that path, that they go down the evil path, there's the opportunity to redeem them as well, right? And
That's true.
so then it goes right back to being gray at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't really have like fully good and fully evil characters.
Kind of
Seems
boring.
too simple for me. Yeah, I mean, no offense to people who write pure good and pure evil characters. Also, I don't know that I have read like a purely good and purely evil character in a while, actually.
Yeah, it's not
You
done
got
much
like,
anymore.
yeah, so that might be a fun challenge for me. Try to write 100% one or the other. I don't know if I could do it. I feel like I would. I am tempted just because it's who I am, like to just give the good guy like some really crappy like.
I could just see the blurb. Joe dared me, and now here you go.
Here you go. Here's your perfectly, lawful good guy, Joe. Enjoy it. It sucks. It's boring. He's totally predictable.
Along the lines of torturing Medusa, I know you have a political bent to, your social media in a lot of respects. Do you explore that with Medusa a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah. Way more than I meant to. That was the other thing that kind of had me slowed down at the end of last year and the beginning of this year is a lot of, being from Minnesota, a lot of the stuff that happened with ICE really messed me up. That part hasn't actually, none of that has made it into the book yet, specifically having to do with. It's interesting. I don't really explore like straight on like political government action. It's mostly in the corporate realm. That's what I'm sticking to because the gods have taken over like corporations and different parts of our our corporate lives. This book actually has to do a lot more with the media machine that's been built up around some of the personalities
and its affluence on society, basically.
Yeah. Yep. You can guess for yourself which god is in charge of the media. Yeah, the media and technology are the big ones in this, and then the next books will go into some of the other areas of.
Is there a statement on AI on that?
Yeah, there's not like a super explicit one, but there's kind of an implied one.
I always thought Medusa turned people to stone and didn't kill them.
She does both. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
is it part of the lore you explore?
Okay. Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the first time you see her turn someone to stone, there's very little question about whether they live or die by the time she's done with them.
Fair enough. The other interesting aspect of like a gray character too is, I mean, obviously you can explore both sides of them, right? You can go to their darkness, you can go to their light, but also the characters around them that react to whatever they're experiencing, right? And that is what I think it becomes more interesting. Would you agree? Do you think that the ancillary characters for a grayer storyline matter more because they can affect which direction that character goes in?
Yeah, and I also think it's interesting because different characters are going to have different reactions to the main character. The one that comes to mind first is in Misadventure, you have Jake, who's, smitten with Adina, and his partner on the radio show, Shanti, who's like, I don't trust her. She's creepy. And they're both kind of right, because she has those two sides to her. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting.
When you're writing these characters, how deep are you in their heads, or they are in your head? How deep is that happening for you? you? Are you able to compartmentalize a little bit, or are you feeling some of the effects of what is going on?
It depends on the character. Typically, yeah, I like to be pretty deep in their heads. Adina in particular, because it was first person present, it was extremely close. So yeah, she's probably the character I've been the closest to writing. Medusa, because it's first person past, a little bit further away, but still pretty close. But yeah, I try as best I can to, like, a lot of my pre-work is just free writing in their voice, and trying to kind of get a sense of like who they are. And a lot of it I don't even end up using. And in Medusa, this Snakes and Stones, the secondary character, primary second, well, there's a couple. She's got 3 head snakes that talk to her. And then she's got the Minotaur, who's her partner in this. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what their relationship was. So I actually like sat down and kind of like put them mentally on a couples therapy couch and was like, okay, talk. And I was asking them questions, talking out, and that really helped a lot, actually. Because the Minotaur is like even more stoic than most of the characters I write, because he's been in a maze underground for the longest time. So he's been extremely hard to get the voice on. But I think I finally gotten it. He just doesn't talk that much.
That's interesting, because I'm curious. I was just going to ask, another thing that great characters tend to do is they tend to have good poker faces. They tend to hide who they are. Is it difficult to write something like that? And because you want to give the audience some idea of what they're thinking and what they're doing, but you also want them to be engaged in the story, right? So is there a balance there? Have you found it, or is that something that is difficult?
I found that my characters typically are pretty honest with the reader. They don't tend to hide a lot from the reader. And what they tend to hide from the reader, they're also kind of in denial about themselves, which the reader should be able to tell that they're being stupid, and they're just not engaging with the reality of the situation. So I think it's actually the reverse. I think the reader might know more about the character than the character knows about themselves sometimes.
And that is, again, because of the first person value that you put on your writing, right? So, because it's exploratory when you're doing a first person aspect, right? You're as much a discovery writer as you are a discovery character in that respect.
Exactly. Especially when it's first person present, because they don't know what's coming.
Right.
First person past a little bit different, but
they're reacting to what is happening in real time, basically.
Yep. As am I.
So, did you change it to first person past for Medusa just because of the history of Medusa, or was it the voice you found, or how did that happen about?
Yeah, I found that Medusa, I started off in first person present. And I just sort of found that her voice, for whatever reason, was a little bit more reflective than Adina's was. It felt a lot more like she was recounting the story after it had happened, than experiencing it in the moment. So, and I think that probably has to do a lot with the fact that she is so old, and that just made more sense that she would be kind of telling the story after the fact.
I'm curious about the research in doing a Medusa and a god's story. What's the most interesting thing you found that you didn't know?
That's a really good question, because I've done a lot of research, and a lot of really broad reading. I think so. One of the things that I did for this was I decided early on that one of her head snakes was going to be Aristotle, the philosopher. And the other one is what is it? She's a punk rocker from the 70s.
All right.
So they're fun. But I did not know a whole lot about Aristotle before. I actually went through a number of different philosophers. I was like, is it going to be Socrates? Is it going to be who? And he made the most sense because he's kind of the most logic and reason guy. So I ended up reading a couple of different books. I think the first one of them is Aristotle for Everybody, which I ended up buying, which everyone should read. It's like Aristotle for Dummies, basically. And it talks about, you can see so much of like how our democracy was shaped by those ideas. And then has somehow lost its way away from those ideas. And like, if we just had a little bit more of it, might come back to something a little bit more logical. So that was one that I read. And then the other one was, I think it was just called Plato and Aristotle. And it was this idea that like over time, because Plato and Aristotle were both students of Socrates. It went Socrates, and then Plato was directly, and then Aristotle was under him. And Aristotle kind of rejected a lot of what Plato had to say, like any student.
Old man's crazy.
Yeah, but they're also sort of contemporary. And that book goes through basically, I forget when it ends. It definitely gets through like the Obama administration. I think it gets through the first Trump administration. But it kind of shows you from like Greece through Europe to America, like how these ideas have influenced the thinkers that have come after, and like how our entire history has kind of been this fight between the ideas of Plato and Aristotle, and like how they've never really meshed, and it's always been this argument between the two. And yeah, that was probably the most interesting stuff that I read. All for a snake, one snake in her head. I read all that. But yeah, that's just part of it. But that was probably some of the most fun stuff I got to read. And also, it's, background, like reading about ancient Greece. She lived before Aristotle and Plato did in mythology. But like even just getting a sense of what it was like in their era, life and how society worked and how thinking worked was really helpful too.
Is there enough stuff about Medusa where you could deduce what she looks like?
So what I've been able to find about Medusa really is just like the really short, like from antiquity, it's just those really short things. There was actually a book that came out, it's called I, Medusa, and people have probably heard of it. It just came out in, I think, November. That speaks about it's her story as like a villain's origin story kind of. And it talks about her in from like before she went to be an acolyte for Athena, and before things happened with Poseidon, and before she was cursed. And that one talks about her as if she was sort of had the influence in genetics coming from like Africa. So it was written by a Black author, and she took her in the direction of a Black character, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, especially given that dreadlocks kind of, and she had those mirror snakes. And she's very intentional about how that transition happened. So I would recommend that book to anybody who wants like a more traditional Medusa story. But yeah, from the footnotes I read in that book, she could be anything from like, me. I have Italian. So she could look something like this to African to Middle Eastern. It's very open as far as like what she looks like. I take her in more of a Middle Eastern direction.
Do you tackle that in the book? People mistaking her for her identity often?
Briefly, really briefly. She doesn't really go into public. She lives in a camper van in the woods. Like she's very much off the grid. She doesn't have a phone. She doesn't have a computer. she's as far away from people as she can get. So at least in the beginning of the story.
She has to acclimate.
Yes. She's not had a very easy go of it when she's tried to be around people in the past.
Well, yeah, because she fucks them up if you look at her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm curious about your research into. I know you and I are a similar age, or you're a little bit younger than me, but you remember malls when they existed. I'm sure.
Loved
So,
malls.
so did you do any research for the Dead Mall series about malls? And
Yeah.
what was the most interesting thing you found about that?
That there's a series called the Dead Mall series on YouTube where a guy goes and walks around like all kinds of abandoned malls in this country. No, but, I mean, it is super creepy. But some of the malls are really cool. A lot of them in Pennsylvania, which was surprising to me. But I guess it shouldn't be because a lot of the malls are sort of in colder areas.
Yeah.
Out here, it's all strip malls. I think we have like 3 real malls in Vegas, whereas in Minnesota, it's like every city has 2 malls in it.
And then you have the Great Mall too.
Exactly. Yes, I was there. I was there on opening weekend for that mall.
Yeah,
That's where my mall cred comes from. I was at Mall of America when it opened, and it was
big time cred. It's big time cred.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of viral videos that come from there too.
Yes. Actually, when I was a little kid, I wrote a story because I was kind of, I think a lot of us who were that, like, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10 when it opened, 9 or 10. A lot of us were like obsessed with the Mall of America. Sure. And I wrote a story when I was around that age about a family who goes to live in the mall. They get to go live in the mall. And they get a credit card where it's like you just kind of charge it to your room. It was kind of before charging it to your room was a big thing, but like you just charge whatever to your house and just take things.
Did they live underground or did they live in like an actual store?
They lived in a store. Like I forget what the store. I was 10, so I don't know I didn't know how anything worked back then. But it was like, oh, the government needs your house for a highway. And the mall's going to save you and they're going to let you live in the mall, like on the 4th floor until whenever. And, it was like one of those weird Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of like this would never happen in the real world for so many reasons. But it was a fun little story.
Wetzel's is just down the way here. Go bother them.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I have an obsession with like being in malls after they are closed. There was a whole chapter about being in the mall after it was closed. Nobody was around. I remember. So there's a few other things besides that sort of influence my love of malls and their deadness.
Did you know that most of them have tunnels?
What's that? Did
you know that most of them have tunnels?
I knew that the Mall of America had tunnels. I didn't know that most of them do.
Yeah, most of them. They were built so that if security needed to get from one end to the other, they could tunnel underneath the mall so that they could get from one side to the other before anything would escalate. So.
That makes sense. If I ever do a Dead Mall revival, I'll have to work that in somehow. They already have an underground break room, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that's basically they had their control room was usually right around the break room area. So
yeah, I did not know that actually when I wrote Dead Mall. I was just like, this needs to be underground, so I'm just gonna say it's underground, whatever, and people will deal with it. But yeah, another interesting thing in my mall life is, do you know the movie Mallrats by Kevin Smith?
Of course.
That was filmed at the Eden Prairie Mall, which is 10 miles from where I grew up. Nice. And I actually, way too young, we were in that mall when the sets were built. So like we were walking around the Mallrats sets with, I had never heard of Kevin Smith before. But I was able to kind of like see them, and yeah, that was fun.
Did they have the stage erected for the game show?
No, they had rug munchers though. And again, like 8 years old, no idea what that was. Just a big store covered in carpet. It was a super cool storefront. And then just the sign that said, "This is a set for Mallrats." And, you know, I was there, obviously.
Not a real store.
You're just like, never heard of it. Kevin.
How about the baby? How about the baby animals in the windows? Did they have that?
I think they did. Yeah. Some of it I'm conflating in my head because that was when he shot there. It was a fully dead mall. Like that thing, that place was empty. But it had been, you know, a pretty cool mall in its day. And like it had a pet store like that at one point. So I think they just I think that pet store was still there. And but it had closed, and I think they just reopened it and put some pets in there. So for like one day we were like, oh my God, the mall's open again. But it was just, you know, movie set.
What interests you more, saving a character or sending a character to descent? Because you've done both.
Yes. I don't think I've ever really, because even the characters I've sent to their doom, they still kind of continue on. It's pretty rare that one of my main characters perishes completely.
Yeah, you like those god things going on there.
Yeah, I like this, like the second life after afterwards.
Even if it means they become what they should become, which is zombies and shit like that.
Yeah. I don't think I've turned anyone into a zombie, but I've definitely like ruined some. Yeah, like I really do like putting characters into situations where they have to kind of face the worst parts of themselves. I do like that.
Do any of them surprise you with the result of that?
Yes. What am I? There's absolutely, especially in Death by Misadventure. I've gotten a lot of surprises in that one. I can't pull like one example to the top, but yeah, that one definitely for sure. That one surprised me. I think it was because of the immediacy of the like first person present. It just kept on doing weird things.
I mean, they say write what you know, but for you and Wayne, I'll throw Wayne in here too. It's right where you know is a lot of what you guys experience, and I'm finding out with a lot of Vegas writers. Actually, a lot of them utilize Vegas in very varying ways. You know, What is it about the setting for you that becomes so paramount?
It's such a weird place. Like for so many reasons, this place should not exist.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't be here. There's no water. It's in the middle of the desert. The only reason there's water is because of a gigantic like infrastructure, you know,
one of the seven wonders of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And like even before that, it was Las Vegas means the meadows. It was a verdant place even before that happened. But like it's still like none of this should be here. So I think that's something that's really interesting. And then just like the nonstop sort of weird history that keeps happening here. Like you know, you've got the gambling, you've got the strip, you've got the mob, like you've got Bugsy Siegel coming in and creating the flamingo, or really stealing it from the guy who started it and then running it into the ground and then getting murdered, and then other people come in. So you've got that whole history of like the mafia. And then you've got this weird time in the 90s where I was growing up here, where it was just this like fun Disneyland. And now you've got where we are now. And then outside of that, you've got, you know, vast swaths of nothing. And then I'm forgetting about the atomic testing history as well, which is sort of this, you know, nuclear kind of era of like, people watching bombs go off in the distance from on top of bars downtown. Like, you know,
there was YouTube channels about searching for warheads and stuff like that before, you know. Out in the desert.
I was able to go up to the testing site one time. I don't think they do tours anymore, but that place is a trip. That place is crazy. And then you've also got just like, you know, the aliens running around, like all of that whole Area 51 thing. It's just, it's a place that shouldn't be here. And it's a place that calls to a very specific kind of group of people who want to be in a place that is not normal. And it maybe is a little bit more challenging than, like, I went back to visit my sister recently, and Minneapolis is great. Like, Minneapolis is a great city. It's full of culture and parks and all of this great stuff, outdoorsiness, literary, all of it. And it's so fun to visit. But I want to live in this weirdness. And I want to share this weirdness with as many people who will listen to me talk about it, because I could talk about it for a very long time.
You know, but also in the same token, one of the goals or one of the aims is to normalize it in some respects too, kind of make people feel like it's homely enough that people want to live here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's that juxtaposition too, I think, in a lot of respects.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, like, if you find yourself at home here, you're going to find people that you jive with, because it's so unusual to want to like put down roots here in the desert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you just kind of end up finding the people that also want to do that.
Yeah, the interesting thing too, I think, is another interesting aspect of that is that you're kind of insular. You insulated yourselves a little bit. You know, like your groups are very much loyal to each other, right? And they stay within their realm. They don't. I mean, everybody ventures out because they have to. They have to mass market and do whatever. But you know what I mean, right? It's like the group. You have a very, very good group of people that you rely on and you respect, and that are colleagues of yours that none of us know.
Yes,
because you guys have kept it amongst yourselves.
Yeah, and it's funny.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I know there's nothing wrong with it, but it's also very, I think we are not so much insular. It's more we're used to kind of operating on the fringes of a much bigger thing. Like writers, there are some great writers here in my group and not in my group. Like, and we all support each other. I might be more fully tied to like the Sin City writers group, but I'm involved with the Henderson writers group. I support other things. And you kind of have to, because it's a small community.
Yeah.
I think it's more just a situation of like, we're so used to kind of being on the fringes of like all the other giant stuff that happens that's totally not what we do, like the betting and the shows and all that like it's almost just when someone comes and finds us, it's almost like, oh, you're talking to us. Like it's more like, oh yeah, come on in. Like whenever anyone comes in, we're like, yes, come on in, you found us. But it's so unusual to be found that it kind of takes us a second to be like, oh yeah, okay. Yes.
I wanted to finish our conversation with this little anecdote that I found. I don't know. I don't think it was Wayne's books, but it might have been Mackenzie Knight. It's somebody that we know. because I was looking on there. I tend to like go through the reviews when I write a review because I'm interested in reading what people say. And somebody commented to one of your guys', I don't know who it was, about this book is bullshit because they said they use coats in one of the scenes, right? They had coats on in one of the scenes, and they go, "You would never wear a coat in Las Vegas." It just baffles me that people don't understand that the desert can be just as cold as it can be hot. You know, that it is very cold in Las Vegas at some points. You know,
Yeah, for sure. And also, I will say this too, for better or worse, and I have, plenty of shame about this coming from the Midwest. If you live here, even if it's like 40 degrees and other people would not be wearing coats, you might still be wearing a coat because 40 degrees is cold to us who live here when it's 105. So that's another thing to consider. I would imagine a tourist probably wouldn't be wearing a coat, when it's 50 degrees out in February.
I mean, if they're coming from somewhere that is a lot, but
exactly.
But still, I mean, November, Thanksgiving is one of the most utilized holidays for Las Vegas, and people will come in shorts and bikini tops and all that, and they go, "What the fuck? It is cold." Yes, it gets cold in November everywhere.
Also, they close the pools on Halloween, so don't bring your swimsuits in November because you will not be able to use them.
That's I've heard people get upset at the front desk.
I'm sure
about that before.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just
November through February do not count on the pool being open. Even early March, like come in April if you want pools.
It just baffles me that even exists out there. It's just I can't. I would imagine you guys would just laugh that off, but I
do all the time.
But yeah, does that happen? Do people ask you if it gets cold there?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The other thing that is always fun, and this is not really writing related,
for our education system. Really, sorry.
Right. Just check weather. The weather app. There's an app now. Like look it up.
Right. Just chat GPT it. They'll tell you it's fucking cold.
Right. Also, it seems like people don't understand that the strip is like 3 miles long. Like,
right.
You cannot walk from Excalibur all the way to the Wynn. I mean, you can, but you're gonna hate yourself. Like,
downtown is even further
I don't care
away.
how close it looks.
And downtown is even further away from the strip.
Oh, you can't walk there. You shouldn't walk there. It's way too far and not a great area. Take the bus.
And the strip is not downtown. The strip is literally on the border of fucking Las Vegas.
Yes, downtown is where City Hall is, which is not on the strip.
Yeah, there's a lot of misnomers about where you live, for sure.
Yeah, it's
I'm
fun.
Sure you've heard
I
them
enjoy
it. Have you utilized that kind of ignorance in your books before? I know that Wayne has, but
I probably have, and I just haven't really paid attention. It's just kind of like in there because
just a little jab.
Well, the funny thing is like there's not like my books take place in Vegas, but there are very few scenes that actually take place on the Strip or on Fremont. Like there's a scene that takes place in a hotel that's a stand-in for the Cosmo, and then there's one that takes place kind of off of Fremont Street, and that's really it. Like there's not a whole lot that takes place in the casino areas. So there's not a whole lot of interactions with tourists.
So when do you have some idea of the date, or are you going to keep that close to the vest for now in terms of the Medusa book?
I am going to announce that on Friday when I reveal the cover.
So everybody go follow SG Tasz on social media because that's important. And check out all these wonderful books. So yeah, look at that. You're prolific now, my friend.
I know. I'm not gonna have any room for the Medusa.
Oh, we'll make a little space. That's fine.
Well, you could consolidate all of those dead malls.
Yeah, I wanted to show the good. You have the omnibuses, which is what the QR code picture is. it's the omnibuses. But I wanted to show all the nice little covers because I love the color aspect of the covers.
Yeah, I like them too.
But and I love it what you did with the Misadventure too. The colors there as well, and the different shades of blue and purple that go along with that as well. But yeah, these wonderful books. Tell everybody where they can find all of this information and all these books from you, please.
Yeah, all my books are on Amazon. Misadventures in KU, Dead Mall is available wide. And you will be able to find all of that information on my website at sgtash.com. And that's also where you'll be able to find more information about Snakes and Stones, Monsters Pantheon Book 1, what I've been calling the Medusa story.
And if you hadn't been paying attention to the QR codes above me, you can go back and grab one of those. But also, obviously, the graphic I just showed, that is also in our outro, which I'm about to play here in a moment, and you can grab it from there as well. But I just have to say, as always, Sarah, you never disappoint, and this is lovely to catch up. I mean, we haven't seen each other in a bit, so this is kind of cool.
I've been so busy writing.
I know, and every time you do This Week in Indies, you do it with Sean, so I never get to.
I haven't been on that in a while either, though.
You haven't.
I think I missed the sign-up.
But yeah, it's always great to talk to you and catch up, and we'll see each other in September, so that'll be fun. And
sure.
I'm sure we'll see each other way before that and everything. And I can't wait to read Medusa. So, but everybody, go check out everything that SG Tasz is doing. And yeah, another excellent interview. Thank you very much, Nina. We appreciate that. And remember, it's always time to go ending now. Bye, everybody.